some favorite stories from our mission archives, missionaries in India and Papua, and much, much more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause. Today's program is coming from the Spanish city of Seville, and today tourists flock here for various activities and culture, but this is a historic city, and right behind me these two pillars are the most ancient ruins in the city, and they go right back to Roman times, and this was part of a temple to Hercules. And the pillar on one side is commemorating Hercules, and on the other is Julius Caesar, who are seen as the founders of this city. The Roman Empire, of course, stretched to all parts of the then known world, and I'm sure back then they had no idea that one day the Roman Empire would finish. But we know that kingdoms crumble, governments fail, and the only kingdom that will last forever is God's kingdom. And that's what Mission 360 is all about. Mission to share the love of Jesus, to prepare them for God's kingdom. Next up, let's travel to Argentina and meet an elderly cowboy who built a church on his property.
Manuel Ledesma walks his farm in northwest Argentina. At 87 years of age, he still works his farm every day. He's proud of the fact that he still rides his horse, something he has done for the past 80 years. As the corn leaves Manuel's hand and falls to the ground, his sheep quickly fight the chickens for every kernel. Manuel not only feeds his literal sheep, but God's sheep as well. Manuel and his wife Alicia became Adventists 20 years ago, and ever since have shared God's love with their family and friends.
Y porque quiero contarles, porque quiero que también ellos sean salvos y para el tiempo venidero, ¿no? Porque andar de la mano de Jesús en los caminos de Dios es lo mejor, ¿no?
Once a week, Manuel and his grandson Lucas take the short walk to the church at the end of their property to prepare it for Sabbath. This building is home to 20 church members and is key to opening the doors of Ojito to the gospel. Even though his own house doesn't have electricity, Manuel has made sure that the little church does. The mission offering this quarter will help to update the church and provide a source of light to a community that has been kept in the dark. As Manuel sweeps the floor, Lucas practices singing his favorite Sabbath song. As they start to walk back home, Manuel tells his grandson how important it is to give back to God in thanks for all the blessings they receive from him.
Por eso le doy gracias que nos ayuden, porque nos faltaría hacer unas piezas para el otro lado. Y bueno, para revocar y hacer la pileta, puede ser que Dios nos ayude. ¿No? Así que por eso le doy gracias y quedamos a la espera de que llegue la ofrenda.
My special guest is a global mission pioneer working right here in Spain, and she has a special ministry among deaf people. Taylor, thanks so much for joining us.
Muchas gracias también.
Now, where did you first get your interest in deaf ministry?
El motivo por qué tengo este gran interés de trabajar es porque hay algo en mi corazón que siempre ha marcado la diferencia, y es que mis padres son sordos. Entonces, desde pequeña he nacido en el mundo del sordo y he visto cómo que la Iglesia no ha pensado en esta actividad y que debemos de evangelizar a las personas sordas.
Now tell me about your father.
Bueno, pues mi padre sordo, se quedó sordo a los 3 años debido a a un ataque de pánico, se quedó encerrado en una habitación y mi abuela no podía abrir la habitación y bueno, pues pasar tantas horas se quedó sordo. Hoy en día puedo decir gracias que a un laico de la iglesia le enseñó acerca de la Biblia y hoy está en nuestra iglesia trabajando activamente.
Wow. Now, Tato, why do you have a passion for mission? Where does your interest in mission come from?
Bueno, el motivo al final fue todo porque tocó mi corazón Dios, perdí a mi madre y eso me hizo reflexionar de que tenemos que evangelizar a las personas sordas. Cuando yo estaba en el tanatorio viendo todos sus amigos sordos, me pregunté, ¿por qué no hay nadie que le predique a ellos? Mi madre murió en Cristo y mi deseo es que muchas personas como ella conozcan el amor de Dios y puedan ser salvados, como espero verla a ella en el cielo.
Wonderful. Now, what sort of activities are you involved in?
Bueno, ahora mismo estamos trabajando en España, estamos dando cursos de lengua de signos para enseñar a los laicos de la Iglesia, ya que no existe un país de sordos o una provincia de sordos. Los sordos están a nivel nacional y están de forma muy aislada, no hay manera de poder crear una iglesia para sordos, entonces necesitamos la ayuda de todos los laicos. Enseñamos lengua de signos, esto permite que el sordo trabaje activamente en la iglesia y disfruten de todas las actividades aparte, concienciar. Trabajamos con los sordos para enseñarles estudios bíblicos y a su vez puedan bautizarse y que ellos sean discípulos después para conocer a sus amigos, amistades y puedan evangelizar. Y otra de las partes más importantes es que debemos tener una iglesia integradora. No podemos separar dos mundos, es decir, el mundo del oyente y el mundo del sordo, no, tenemos que incluirlos. Jesús nos dio ese testimonio, el amor es lo que Él es. Entonces, nosotros tenemos que reflejar amor a las demás personas.
Wonderful. Now, you've touching many people's lives. Can you give me a story of someone whose life has been influenced through the ministry?
Tengo muchísimas historias, pero así de forma que pueda explicarte, tengo la de una niña de más o menos 18 años cuando yo la conocí. Era una niña triste, no quería ir a la iglesia porque se aburría, no había intérpretes, no había nadie que le accediera la palabra de Dios. Y cuando la conocí, ella pues no esperaba nada, bueno, viene una visitante, nada especial. Pero cuando yo la conocí dije, tu vida va a cambiar a partir de ahora porque estoy aquí para luchar y hacer que tu vida cambie, porque si Dios me ha dado el legado de ser consciente de que tengo que ayudar a otras personas, pues lo voy a hacer. Y así fue. Enseñé a su iglesia lengua de signos y hoy por hoy es una niña que tiene amigos, que incluso cada sábado desea ir a la iglesia porque quiere participar en todas las actividades. Es una niña que cuando la conocí era triste y ahora sonríe. No sé cómo explicarlo, pero ha habido una transformación tan grande que eso a mí me ha llenado y me ha hecho muy feliz y creo que no hay nada en este mundo que hacer que la vida de otra persona pues cambie a mejor.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm sure you've got many other experiences. Tell me another one.
Otro más. Bueno, tengo una experiencia que no es tan agradable, pero creo que es importante que la comentemos ya que puede marcar una diferencia en la vida de muchas personas. Una vez, Gary, yo fui a una iglesia, ya me estaban empezando a conocer como la chica que habla con las manos y una señora se me acerca y me dijo, oye, tú puedes acercarte a ese señor porque creo que es sordo y como tú sabes hablar, pues posiblemente puedas acercarte. Y dije, sí, sin problema, me acerco, le toco el hombro al señor, le digo, ¿quiere que le interprete lo que está diciendo el pastor? El hombre me mira y me dice, ¿sabes cuánto tiempo llevo pidiéndole a Dios por saber lo que dice ese hombre? Ese hombre había ido a la iglesia muchas veces, había ido por inercia, no sabía lo que era la iglesia adventista, no sabía, simplemente sabía que había algo especial y él iba y sentaba en el banco. A mí me tocó el corazón cuando él me dijo, ¿cuántas veces he pedido a Dios por saber lo que dice ese hombre? En ese momento dije, Señor, soy instrumento tuyo, voy a interpretar, ayúdame que el Espíritu Santo toque su corazón. Y empecé a interpretar el hombre, la cara era como, ¿eso es lo que dice? ¿Eso es lo que dice el hombre? Y yo le decía, sí, sí, es lo que está diciendo el pastor. Dice, ¡ay, qué bien que hayas venido! ¿Cuándo otra vez? Y ahí fue cuando dije, no puede ser. no voy a volver otra vez, porque mi trabajo tengo que ir a otro lugar, tengo que visitar a otro sordo. Ese sordo se volvió a quedar solo en su iglesia. Y ahí dije, Señor, necesitamos trabajar, necesito gente, ayúdame para que el ministerio crezca. Y gracias a los cursos hay personas que están estudiando lengua de signos para poder evangelizar. Para mí, yo me siento muy orgullosa con las personas laicas de la Iglesia Adventista en España porque se están dando cuenta que pueden ayudar, pueden sentirse útiles en la iglesia y sobre todo cambiar la vida de las personas. No sé cómo explicarlo con palabras, pero lo que sí sé es que Dios tiene un plan, una misión y creo que todos juntos debemos de trabajar.
Tali, thank you for sharing with us from your heart and may God bless your ministry.
You're welcome.
And viewers at home, please pray for this special people group and pray that God will continue to bless Taylor in her vital and important ministry. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to Seville, and behind me is Seville Cathedral, and this is the largest Gothic church in the world. In fact, it's the third largest church in the world. And if you want to get technical, it's also the world's largest cathedral. In this mammoth church is buried Christopher Columbus, the famous explorer. And next up, we're going to commemorate, we're going to revisit, we're going to pay tribute to the lives of missionaries of the past.
Thank you, Gary. I am here in the lower level of the General Conference Archives and Statistics Department with Dr. David Trim, who is the Director of Archives, Statistics, and Research. And I can't even explain as well as he can what he does, but he is an integral part of the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church with the, especially the historical side of what we've done in the past, as well as the statistical side of things that helps us to understand where we've been, where we are working, where we're not working, where we need to be going for the future. So it's critical information that he's working with down here. And he is going to tell us a story today, or several stories actually, from India in the 1890s. And this is going to be some pretty interesting things. So Dr. David Trim, tell us about some of these people that you were just telling me about in India.
Jeff, and welcome to the GC Archives. It's a pleasure to have you here with us and to tell the stories of missionaries. This is something we're very passionate about here. How does our church come to arrive in India? It doesn't arrive there actually until 1893. And then it has slow origins, but today the church in India is growing. We thank God for that, but it comes from very humble origins. What's more, it comes from the efforts of lay people. Pastors take a role, but the first work is done by lay people, and that's something we want to promote. Reaching the world is not something we can say, oh, we leave that to professionals. God needs every church member to be totally involved in the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the person who almost embodies that best of all is a woman called Anna Gordon, who's almost entirely forgotten today. She was the first Adventist to work in India. She was an English woman. She grew up in Liverpool, and apparently she would look at, Liverpool's a huge commercial port. She would see ships with the crates being loaded onto them labeled for Bombay and Calcutta. And it just captured her imagination. In the early 1890s, she met American Seventh-day Adventist missionaries to Britain, and she learned about the Sabbath. She accepted it. But she wanted to do more than that. She wanted to witness to the Sabbath, and she didn't want even to do it in Britain, where, of course, people were at that stage mostly Christian, though they weren't Seventh-day Adventists. She said, no, I want to tell people who've never heard about Jesus. I want to tell them about him. And for whatever reason, she decided she would go to India. Now, what makes a single woman in middle life decide, I'm going to go to this utterly strange country and culture? But she did. And so in early 1893, the leader of the British mission, as it was called, Doris Robinson, writes to church leaders and says, we've got this extraordinary woman, Anna Gordon, who is going to India. She's paying her own way, and she's going to work with people there. And she did. She sailed to Bombay. She set up, her home there, and she started to try to meet people to study the Bible with them. Now, sadly, India was home to tropical diseases for which there was no cure then known. And in 1894, she passed away. By that time, the first official missionaries had arrived. But we should remember that commitment to say, I want to tell people about Jesus. I'm not going to wait for the church to give me a job. I will go and I'll share our literature. I'll study the Bible with people. This is something every church member can do and every church member should do.
You mean it's more than just coming to church once a week? No. You mean there's something else to do beyond that?
Exactly.
For everybody?
For everybody. Not everyone's going to feel called to go to an utterly alien culture or country.
Right.
But everyone can pray. Everyone who is doing okay could give money towards it. People can encourage it. There is a part and a role for everyone to play.
Everybody's got a neighbor, you mean?
And everyone has a neighbor in that. You don't have to go to Asia. You can do it wherever you live.
Exactly.
But that same spirit is also present in some of the other early missionaries. So you're going to see on screen now a photograph of what was called the Bazaar Mission. It's the Adventist mission in Calcutta, a huge city, and it was on Bazaar Street, why it's called that. Now you see here Doris Robinson, the man I mentioned a little earlier, because he got called from Britain to be leader of the first official mission in India. You can see him there at the back, but in the middle you can see two ladies, Georgia Burris and Martha Taylor. Both again single ladies, both of them lay people, both of them determined to go. They were on a church salary this time, but they're not pastors. They are lay people who are committed to mission. And Doris Robinson, also you can see his wife there, and you can see a little girl sitting on her lap. They adopted an Indian daughter. They didn't have any children themselves. They adopted an Indian daughter. Now, today, maybe that wouldn't seem so strange. In the 1890s, whites, Europeans, Americans did not adopt local children. But that's how much, that's the love they had for the people of India. It wasn't just a theoretical love. I want to tell Jesus they loved Indian people. Georgia Burris later got married a man called Burgess, and so some people will know of her as Georgia Burgess. But she and Martha Taylor both, they witnessed very actively. They went around Calcutta, they sold books, they offered lessons in vegetarian cooking, which a number of people actually took advantage of, and they were integral parts of that Indian mission. So the foundations in India, there are pastors certainly, people like Doris Robinson and William Spicer, who you can also see in this picture, but it's played, the key role in the early days is played by active, committed, lay church members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
And how much of their life did they spend doing this?
Anna Gordon, of course, ultimately gives her life.
Right.
Georgia Burris and Martha May Taylor both lived in India for well over a decade.
Okay, wow.
And Doris Robinson gave his life as well. He contracted smallpox in an epidemic, and he died there laying down his life as well. You know, being a missionary, there was a cost to being a missionary. We often forget that in an era where we can fly home for medical treatment. Right. That's not an option. There was a cost to being a missionary, but early Adventists paid it willingly.
Total commitment. Incredible.
Absolutely.
Wow. And total member involvement.
Exactly.
That's a word that, or a phrase that you're going to hear being bantered around more and more. TMI, it's called.
But that's what it means.
That's right. Being involved wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. So thank you, Dr. Trim, for letting me be here with you today.
It's a pleasure.
And for giving us a little bit of a tour of what you do. It's a pleasure to hear some of these stories from the history. I am Jeff Scoggins. Thank you for being with us today. I'm reporting for Mission 360. Thank you for what you are interested to do in helping Jesus to come back sooner.
Next up, we remember the service of Bob Roberts, who gave his life serving in mission in Papua.
My name is Bob Roberts, and my job is mission pilot.
Bob Roberts lives and works in Papua, Indonesia. He's been flying with Adventist Aviation Services in Indonesia for more than 20 years. He has seen all kinds of things and met thousands of people hungry to learn about Jesus. On a typical morning, Bob gets up, checks to make sure everything is okay with the plane, and climbs in for a ride. He delivers supplies, visits villages, and transports people throughout the many islands of this region. If you look on the map, you'll see that the island is split in half. The eastern side is the country of Papua New Guinea, while the western half is part of Indonesia. Here in Papua, there are huge mission challenges. The first obstacle is getting to the people. The terrain here is extremely rough. Mountains, rivers, and dense jungle make it nearly impossible to walk through. To reach some of these villages by foot, it can take weeks of hiking and chopping through this terrain. That's where Adventist Aviation Services comes to the rescue. Trips that used to take weeks now take hours, thanks to Bob's flying. These islands contain more than 500 language groups. You can imagine how difficult it is to reach so many languages in an area made up of hundreds of islands. Almost 90% of these people have never even heard the gospel. Bob flies to reach the unreached. He has been flying for the Seventh-day Adventist Church for almost 40 years now. He spent a number of years flying in Africa before coming to Indonesia. His experience in the air is extremely valuable to the mission work in Indonesia. This is where he feels at home and where God has called him to fly. When visiting this small city in West Papua, Bob discovered that the local Adventist pastor's father was very sick and had no way to see him. If he took a boat to visit his father, it could take days. The pastor was very disappointed that he may never see his father again. Bob offered to fly him to the nearby city to visit his father. With the services of the Adventist Aviation plane, the pastor was able to see his father again and share encouraging words with him. Bob often transports sick people to get medical attention. Many of the small cities and villages have no medical facilities. Commercial planes rarely or never fly some places. Even with small commercial planes, it is very expensive for a villager to afford a ticket.
We fly a lot of sick people, and when we do fly sick people, we fly them for free if they're really sick.
Bob's flying is a ministry. He cares about the people he visits. He wants to bring the message and hope of Jesus to the people of Indonesia.
So those are the kind of things that make you glad you're a mission pilot, helping people that would not have a hope otherwise. And that's why we're here.
Please pray for Bob as he continues to fly for Jesus. Pray for the hundreds of workers around the world who've left the comforts of home to serve.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed today's 360-degree view of mission around the world. And I want to thank you for your continuing involvement in mission. And you may say, involvement? I'm not involved, I just sit here and watch the program. Well, you are involved if you're praying for mission, and I invite you to make prayer for mission part of your daily activity, because it does make a difference, and it's so encouraging for those who are on the front lines of mission to know that there are people praying for them. But you're also involved every time you give your mission offerings, every time you give a donation to Global Mission, you are involved in mission, and I want to thank you for that. On today's program, we've been reminded of the great missionaries of the past, and we see the tremendous inspiration that they are to us today. And I'd like to invite you to request this special offer we have. It's a small thank you gift for your involvement in mission. It's called God's Great Missionaries. It's a book that I wrote several years ago, but it's full of stories that I think you will enjoy. And it's our special offer to you today. Well, for Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.